everybody, it's me, Laura, and today we're going to create my play on words pot, the berry bush. Yes, oh, I love this one. Oh, anyways, so right here I've got some terracotta clay, and I'm going to make a small ball here, and it's about the diameter of about 1 inch, not quite, but around there. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn it into a teardrop and press one end down so that it's kind of a little bit larger than the other end, but it's going to be flattened on both ends. This will then give you the main form of your terracotta pot. Okay, now that I've got my terracotta pot formed, I've then rolled out some more of my terracotta, and I'm taking my smallest Deteco cutter here, my circle cutter, and I cut 2 of them. And I want to say I rolled this clay out on a number 3 setting on my Atlas machine. And then I'm just kind of placing my little pot down. I want to make sure that's about the right size for it, and not that I have to go any larger or any smaller. And that works out pretty good for me. I'm going to roll out some more terracotta, and I'm just going to cut like a single strip. And I'm going to take this strip and I'm going to place it on end around that circle, well, actually around the top of my terracotta pot. But I'm also going to take another strip and I'm going to place it around the circle as well. Okay, right here I've got my burnisher, or you can use a knitting needle, and I'm just smoothing out where I have that cut part in the pot, and just make it so it looks like it's as uniform as possible. You're going to then cut with my Kemper cutter this time, my circle Kemper cutters. I'm going to create a little bit of a round circle, and I'm going to place that in the top of the pot. This is my ground. And then I'm going to take my burnisher, and I'll just start kind of tapping down some of that dark brown clay into the terracotta pot. This will then give me more of a look of my ground. Okay, now that I've got that ground element pretty much completed, again, you're just kind of going around, so it looks like it's a lot of little indents, like it would be broken up soil. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and take another piece of that terracotta, and again, I'm just going to cut another one of those strips, and we're going to place this around the circular piece on my tile. This is going to be then you might say the plate for that terracotta pot. All right, now I'm going to take some of my 22 gauge and my 26 gauge wire, and I'm just going to place them into this terracotta pot wherever I want. And I've got a bunch of these little tiny wires. Just kind of stick them in there wherever, like I said, randomly, or if you want to place them, you know, with some kind of pattern involved, that's totally up to you. And then once you have this done, go ahead and bake the terracotta pot and the little dish. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and make the berries to this pot. And I've got a bunch of different little browns here. So I've got kind of a flesh tone, kind of like almost a yellow brown, a dark brown, and then kind of a tan. So find some different browns that you like, and then take a little bit of each one and make about, 5. I've got 5 balls in the end that I'll have here, all with the different colors. And this way then we can go ahead and make a bunch of different little berries with, some different, tones of brown. It makes it more interesting other than just doing like one kind of tone. Okay, so you can see here this ball is about a half an inch and that's about a little under a quarter. So the bigger ball is going to be the head, and then I'm flattening the disc on the other one and I'm placing that against that ball. I'm then going to take my needle tool and I'm just going to make one large, line right down the center. Once I do that, I'm going to create two smaller little balls and I'm going to flatten these into discs and place this on the head. Those are going to be the ears. Once I get those ears placed where I really like them, like just above the larger circle there with the line down the center, I'm going to place them both just on either side, and then I'm going to take my needle tool and poke in. Those two little tiny holes are going to be where my eyes are going to be. And then I'm going to take another little piece of black, I'm going to roll it into a ball and place that in the center at the top of where that slit is. That's the nose. Then a little bit of red pink clay, place that at the other end, and that will be the tongue for our little Beary. Now that I have my little Beary made, we're going to take a little bit of that 22 gauge wire and stick it up into the head of this little bear face. And then I'm going to go ahead and make a few more of these little Beary heads. So sit back and enjoy the next little bit. Okay, so now all of these bears have been baked, and I'm just going to go in with some super glue now and make sure that that wire stays in. So just a little bit of super glue right around that opening, sticking the wire in and making sure it's glued in really well. And I'm going to do this to all of these bears. So I glued in a couple of them, but there's a few I think I missed, so I'm just putting in a little bit of glue. Once I do that, I'm going to use a little bit of my leaf green clay. I'm going to make a ball, I'm going to flatten it, I'm going to pinch it into a point, and then drag a little line right up the center, creating that nice little point, and then placing it right at the base of the bear's head. And once I do that, I'm going to have one down. It really finishes off well. Make another one and place it right beside the other leaf. It almost, I don't know why, but to me it almost looks like a little bit of a collar. Okay, so these bear heads have all been baked along with the little leaves on them, and we're going to go ahead and start placing the eyes in a few of them. So I separated out two because we're going to do two different pots, and this one I'm going to do it with acrylic paint. So I took some white acrylic paint and filled in those two holes with it. Okay, so right here I'm putting in just the little black parts of the eyeball on these little teddy bears. And we're going to do each one in turn. Okay, now that we have the black part of the eye put in, we're going to go back in and use some more of my white acrylic paint, and we'll create just little highlights in the black part of the eye. Okay, now that I finished up the first 3 bears with their little highlights in the painted area, I'm going to use my eyeball cane on the other 2 bears. So I cut off a couple of slices of my eyeball cane, and we're going to place them right over the little indented areas of where I was planning to put my eyes anyway. I want to give you guys a different sense of like, okay, if you do it with acrylic paint, this is how it's going to look. And if you do it with the eyeball cane, this is how it's going to look. And you're going to find that the main difference between the looks is going to be just a little bit of super glue instead of acrylic paint. So I'm just taking some, like I said, a little bit of super glue, putting it right over that opening, putting the little slice of eyeball cane down, and then I'm going to go ahead and bake these 2 particular bears once again. Okay, so now we're going to start putting our pot all together. We've got the first 3 bears that I worked on, and I'm going to glue down the pot to the little dish. Once I get that done, I'm going to start cutting the wire off of some of these bears and saying, okay, is this too tall or not? I'll start cutting my green wire off and making sure that it's just about the way I want it to look in that pot. I'm also going to take some of this extra wire and I'm going to place those in all the other little holes in this pot as well. So take out your wire cutter and really start trimming away. Okay, now that I got those teddy bears placed the way I want them in my terracotta pot, I'm going in with the extra wire and I'm just going to start placing this in all the different other little holes. And then when I get that done, I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of super glue in with this. So, I mean, the thing is, these little bears, they're pretty much set now. I know exactly the way I like them, the way I like the look of how they are in the pot. And so I might as well go ahead and take a little bit of super glue, make sure they're glued in really well, and then I'll just start putting in the wires as well. And the wire, I'm going to go ahead and super glue those in too, because I'm going to just eventually cut those down as I'm looking at that pot, when I'm putting it together, when I'm curling up the wires, and keep going from there. Okay, so with this wire, I'm going to start trimming it up so to a point where I like the look of it, because these are pretty long. I like to go with a little extra wire because I can always trim it back to kind of where I want it. Just remember not to trim too far back because then you're like, well, it's already glued in. So, take it a little bit at a time, trim it back into the point where you're like, yeah, I like that look, that looks good. And then we're going to go ahead and add in our leaves. Okay, so now I'm bringing in my leaf green clay, creating the ball, pressing it down into a flat little disc, making a point, going ahead and putting the line up the center, and then adding that into all of the little wires in my little terracotta pot. So, and I'm using a little bit of super glue here too. So you saw me put that on the stem, right? I'm creating another leaf and I'm going to place it right where I had that super glue. And then once I have that in, I'm going to go ahead now and create up a bunch more of these little tiny leaves. I'll place them all over on this pot. I'll also curl up my wire and we will move on from there. Okay, so right here I'm going to start bringing in some more of my brown clays again. I'm going to create little balls, and then I'm also going to create little flattened discs so they look like maybe an ear or even a little black ball that might look like a nose. I want to have these attached in to the other little leaves on the pot. I want it to make or give it the idea that I've got other little berry berry parts growing out of this pot. Okay, so let's go ahead and finish up decorating this little pot. And I'm going to bring in my white acrylic paint. I'm going to go ahead and paint right on that top rim of the pot. You know, you could go ahead and actually make a strip of white clay instead of like what I did here with the terracotta. That's truly up to you. I just thought, I wanted to bring in my acrylic paint in this regard. So I kind of placed a little bit down. You could tell I got off of my the rim there a little bit, but that's okay, because we're going to add in a fun little feature with a bullseye cane that I've then formed into a triangular, well, it's a triangular bullseye cane. And we're going to place that around on this terracotta pot. So right here, I'm cutting slices of that little triangle, and then I'm going to take each of these little triangle pieces and I'll place them around the bottom edge of the rim on my terracotta pot. Okay, now that I got those triangle pieces placed all the way around, I brought in, yes, I have again another piece of that liquid Sculpey film where I did the transfer effect, and I've got it called Berry Bush on it. And yes, it's the clear transparent. I actually went back and I bought some transparent, or not transparent, translucent liquid clay, and I just did not like it as well. I really suggest using the clear transparent instead. So, or translucent, I guess is what they're calling it. And then I'm just taking a little dab of super glue and I'm going to place it right behind that little sign on the white and just kind of fold it right down. And I didn't realize my little leaf was going to get in the way. So I eventually cut off the little piece there that was kind of sticking up. Okay, so right here, all I'm doing is bringing in a couple of rhinestones, and I'm going to fill in the little indented dots right near the leaves, just giving it a little bit of flash. And that way then, this finishes up my berry bush terracotta pot. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and create our second little berry bush terracotta pot. And I got my two bears here, and there's only two of them. And so I'm going to go ahead and place those in, getting them arranged just the way I like them. Now that I have them arranged in the pot the way I like it, I'm going to super glue these in along with some more wires. I'm also then going to bring in a small toothpick, and we're going to place that into this particular terracotta pot and give it a different feature from the last one. Okay, so these bears kind of stood a little tall, so I'm going to place the full toothpick right into the terracotta pot. And I'm going to just leave it just like that because I'm not quite sure how far down I want to cut that off. And then again, I'm bringing in my liquid Sculpey sheet that I made of my, my little sign. And I'm just going to cut this all out. And I've got some different font sizes here. I'm just cutting a few. And once I get that, I've also got a little bit of white clay here. And I really like that size. Well, maybe, that size. That'd probably be a little bit better. And I'm going to place that down on my clay. And then I'm going to take my tissue blade and I'm going to go ahead and cut it, or I should say cut a piece of this white clay just to the right size where the words are at. Okay, so now I took my little sign and I've already baked it, and I'm just going to take a little bit of super glue. I'm going to place that on the back and then put it on some fresh black clay. And then I'm going to cut this black clay to give it a nice little tiny black frame around my little sign. Okay, so now the sign is baking, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make some leaves on this pot. Now I'm doing it a little bit different. I'm making lines all the way up the side on both sides of this leaf. Once I do that, I'm going to take my needle tool, and on the second one down from the bottom, I'm going to indent it. So I'm going to make this little notch in there, and this way it almost gives it, I really like this leaf. This leaf is one of my more favorites. I don't do it that often, and I should. It almost gives to me the feel of like, not really a maple leaf, but something along those lines. And I'm going to make a few of these, and you're going to find it's a really nice looking leaf to go ahead and add into this terracotta pot. Okay, so as you can see here, I filled out my terracotta pot with all my little leaves, and I'm going to take my sign and we're going to glue this in right on my toothpick. And I just placed it right behind the head on that little bear. It just worked beautifully. And this is why I really didn't cut down that stick too much. I wanted to, I thought, it's a nice little opening, it's a nice little area. I could fill it in with the sign and it'll look appropriate. So from here, we're going to add in some more of those tiny little brown balls, again, giving the illusion of bits and parts and pieces of little tiny berry parts coming out on this berry bush. Okay, from here I'm going to again use my white acrylic paint. I'm also then going to bring in my little purple and white bullseye cane and decorate up the little pot completely. So I'm going to go ahead and let you guys watch my hands talk as I finish up this segment. Okay, so here's the end result of my play on words pots berry bushes. Woohoo! I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please use this for study and reference. And if you like the video, please like, subscribe, and leave me a comment. I'm always wondering what you're thinking. Otherwise, I am sending out my biggest hugs to each of you, and I hope you have a fantastic day.